Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Pocketbook Adventures from designer David David and publisher Grumpy Spider Games. This is a solo-only, pocket-sized notebook-style dungeon crawler, or dungeon scrawler if you will, that offers a unique movement puzzle and a pencil-based dexterity, skill check, and combat system. This will be hitting Kickstarter very soon, so I should mention this is a prototype copy of the book, and I was given this as a preview copy from the designer himself. With that said though, I will always give you my honest opinion on everything that I do on this channel. With all that said, let's head down to the table to see exactly how this plays out, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a game of Pocketbook Adventures, just open the book to where you left off. It's as simple as that. Now, I should mention that at the end of the previous page, I did copy over my maximum hit points, my current hit points, my current gold, any status items and weapons that I have. In fact, I forgot to transfer over my weapon. I do have the inner dark bow. Now, before I get started, I should explain a little bit of what I've done so far and what I'm going to be showing to you on this video. We are currently in the second area, or the second sort of environment or world, which is the wilderness. I have played through the entire first area. The first area, the movement is a little bit more free than what I'm showing you now. You can choose to move 1 to 4 spaces each turn. This wilderness area is a bit more of a puzzle, and I'll explain that as soon as I get into explaining how this is going to work. I should also mention that the previous page beat me up quite a bit with this toxic status, which I will explain in just a minute, but you will see I am starting with only 4 hit points on this page, so there's a very good chance that I might actually get to show you what happens when you die in this game, which is actually pretty good because that's an important piece of the game. But with that said, what I'm going to be showing you in this video is I'm going to be showing you this page right here, which is a sort of normal map style playthrough. And most of these areas have a bunch of these different normal sort of maps along the way. And then interspersed throughout the normal maps are these sort of town or store areas. And I'm going to show you one of those as well. But between this map and the next store area, I've looked ahead and I know on the next page there's actually going to be a boss battle as well. And boss battles switch things up quite a bit. If you're worried about spoilers, I will put a tag in this video so you can skip to the section after the boss if you want to just see what the shopping phase looks like. And then of course you can jump ahead to the end to meet me at the top and see what I think about the game. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into exactly how this plays. So basically we're going to be moving around on this map, and we're going to start down here at this little person-shaped area. And on my turn, or every turn I take, I'm going to be moving in a straight line exactly 4 spaces, unless I run into an enemy, which are these 3 different shapes here. You can see them all over the board. Or if I run into terrain. If I run into an enemy, I'm going to immediately stop. If I run into terrain, I'm going to be able to turn in either direction, left or right, when I hit that terrain. So hitting terrain is actually going to be allowing me to make turns around corners, which is going to be helpful as I sort of follow or set up this puzzle to hit as much stuff on the board. Now, why am I trying to hit as much stuff on the board as possible? Because I'm going to be earning stars based on the number of enemies I can kill before I leave the area, the amount of damage that I take while I'm there. The lower the number, the better. And the number of steps that I take to complete everything I do before leaving the area. And what we're going to be scoring is if I can kill a certain number of enemies, here 6, 8, or you can see here I crossed this off and put a 9. That's because on this particular map there are only 9 enemies. We cannot hit the 10 enemies. I spoke with the designer, and as this is a prototype, there will be some small tweaks, but because this is set up like a puzzle, we can't just add another enemy because it'll change up the puzzle a little bit. So instead he suggested that I change that number to 9 for the 3rd star. So if I can kill 6 enemies, I get 1 star. 8 enemies, I'd get 2 stars. Or all 9 enemies, I would get the full 3 stars. For damage, if I take 8 or less damage, I'll get the full 3 stars. 10 or less damage, I get 2 stars. And 14 or less damage, I get that single star. Same thing with the walking or the steps. It's going to work based on equal or less than, right? So if I take 28 or less steps, I get all 3. 30 or less steps will get me 2, and 34 or less steps will get me 1 point. And again, all of those things are going to be calculated when I reach this arrow up here at the top. Any movement that takes me through that arrow, I can then decide that's the end, I'm out. I can pass through the arrow and continue moving, but if I decide when I've crossed through that I've triggered the end, then I do whatever I've passed through, and I will consider that the end, and then it'll tally up how many stars we've got. Now, let me explain what's on the map, what the different things are, how the enemies work, how combat works, and we'll get right into gameplay. On the map, you'll see lots of hearts, lots of coins, and lots of sort of items. You can see the items are listed down here. I'll explain what those are in a minute. But anytime you walk through a heart, you don't have to land on it, walk through a heart, you're going to increase your hit points by 1. Anytime you walk through a coin, you're going to increase your gold by 1. If I land on this stack of gold, I have to do a skill check, and I'll explain the skill check right now with this because it's going to work for all of these different things. Skill checks in this game are sort of the main mechanism of this game, aside from the movement puzzle. And in this case, there's a target down here at the bottom of the page. So when I pass through a coin stack, I'm going to place my pencil on that coin stack. And I'm going to look away from the book, whether that means close my eyes or look at a different location in the room. And I'm going to lift my pencil and do my best to place that pencil in the center of this target down here. If I can manage to hit the center, I will get 5 coins. And for each ring out from the center that I place, I will get 1 coin less from that coin stack. Now, obviously you're looking at the book and not at my face while I'm playing this, but I promise you I will do my best not to look at the camera's screen or the book when I do the skill checks, so they are actual skill checks. So again, passing through a single coin will get me 1 gold. Passing through a gold stack will allow me to take a skill check from that point using this target and getting a number of gold from 5 to 0 depending on where my pencil lands. Passing through any of the items like the remedy or this expander gravel will allow me to get one of those items. I can hold up to 3 items at any time. I can always use an item and then, pick up another item along the way. This treasure chest is going to work just like the coin stacks, except that I'm going to need to pass through the key first and then through the treasure chest. And the treasure chest is actually going to be a maximum of 10 coins rather than 5, and every ring further away will be minus 2 coins instead of the minus 1 that we did for the coin stack. Aside from all of those items and coins on the board, the last thing we need to talk about on here are the enemies. Again, anytime I walk directly into an enemy, my movement will stop on the space before the enemy. But also, if I decide to end my turn in any of the 8 spaces around the enemy naturally, that will also trigger combat with the enemy. And the way that combat works for the enemies is that each of the enemies, I hope you can see this, there's a small dot on the line above their picture. So there's Atvask has a dot right there, the Torque has a dot over here, and the Spaver has a dot right here in the middle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that same sort of skill check that I talked about before with the gold stack, except I'm hoping to get from that dot to the center of the target. If I can hit the center of the target, I've killed the enemy and I take no damage. If I hit anywhere in this middle ring, then I'm going to lose 1 health myself and still kill the enemy. And if I hit anywhere in the outer ring here, then I'm going to lose 2 health and still kill the enemy. Now, if I miss completely, nothing's going to happen unless it says somewhere in the book that a miss triggers something. So I would basically just try again. But what else I should mention is these darker areas. Anytime I touch a darker area, in addition to taking the damage that I'd normally take from that ring, I also trigger whatever the ability is for that monster. So let me explain what the 3 of them are. Atvask has Toxic, and this is what wiped out my hit points so badly on the previous page. While I'm Toxic, which I am currently, anytime I take a new status from another enemy, not the Toxic, and you'll never be able to stack damage or status problems, so I'm not going to get a double Toxic. But anytime I take a new one of these statuses from another monster, I'm going to lose 3 damage or take 3 damage. Same thing if I decide to use a remedy. I didn't explain what these do. A remedy is going to cure any of these status effects. If I use the remedy to cure something other than Toxic while I still have Toxic, that's also going to cause me 3 damage. So I better make sure I get rid of that before I get rid of anything else. The Torque has Charge. which means if I'm on the right side of the enemy in the map and I trigger one of those dark areas, it will do an additional 3 damage. So I really want to try and attack them not from the right side, either up and down or on the left side. And then finally, Spaver has Slash. And Slash says that if I have 3 or less hit points when he deals damage to me, or after he deals damage, so once I've subtracted the damage he's done, if I have 3 or less hit points, I'm instantly killed by the Spaver. So we got to be really careful about him because right now we only have 4 hit points, but we will hopefully pick up some hearts along the way as well. There are 2 more things that I do want to explain before we get into it. The other item we can pick up is an Expandagravel, which lets me, at my current location, fill in any of the 8 blocks around me and turn that into a piece of terrain, which will sort of help me with the movement puzzle later on in that stage. That's pretty cool. The other thing I should mention that I haven't marked off yet is I've got the Inner Dark Bow, and this is something I unlocked or I bought at a market earlier. And what that's going to let me do is all of these dark spaces on the inner ring, I'm going to write a little heart. That means if I land on those spots, I will take 1 less damage than I normally would, which means right now, because that's the inner ring, I won't take any damage if I hit the dark area in the middle or the inner ring for these 3 characters right now. So that's great, but remember that would still trigger whatever these is. So I really don't want to hit that Toxic, but as long as I'm on the left side of Torque or I don't have less than 3 hit points for Spaver, those dark spots now are going to be 0 damage areas for me. So it's almost as if that center bullseye has gotten a little bigger. Now the other status I do have right now is Jinx. That's something I picked up in a previous map, so it's not on this page. But Jinx means that all of the coin stacks and treasures will only give me 1 gold and not the normal amount of gold, which means if I want to start collecting treasure, I better do my best to get rid of Jinx before I do that. All right, so hopefully that gives you some idea of how the game plays. It will become hopefully clearer as we get into the play. So let's go ahead and start. And we are starting down here at this area. The exit's up here. There are exactly 9 enemies here, and I would like to get as many stars as I can. So I kind of want to get through everything before leaving. I don't always get all of the coins and all of the hearts, but I would really like to kill all of the enemies if I can. So I'm going to aim over here because there's lots of healing and I really need to do that. So we'll start by going 1, 2, 3, 4 in this direction. And I'm going to just start tallying the number of steps. It's likely that I'll forget while I'm playing, but as long as I keep putting these arrows down, it will remind me where we've already been. And that's important, because I didn't mention this before when I talked about movement, but if you end your movement on the same space as one you've been to before, that movement doesn't count for steps. So that's a good way to keep your steps down if you can potentially end up landing on a space that you've already been to before. All right, so there's my first move. Nothing's going on there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can walk past the snake as long as I don't hit the snake. So I'm not triggering combat because I'm far away now, but I do get that health. So we're at 5. And that's my second step. All right, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Remember, when we hit terrain, we can turn. Actually, that's a mistake. I don't turn off of the enemy. Sorry. 1, 2, turning, and 3, 4, I should go straight, but there's an enemy there. And remember, when you collide with an enemy, your movement instantly stops. So we do stop there, and I do trigger combat with that enemy. But before I do that, that should be my third step, and I do get 1 coin for doing that. All right, so now we're going to move over to Spaver, and we're going to put my pencil there. I'm going to look away from the page, and I'm going to try my best to hit the center target. I also wouldn't mind hitting that dark area because, again, that's not going to hurt me right now. And his slash can't hurt me as long as I have more than 3 hit points. So let's see how this goes. Yep, and looking away while I'm recording is apparently not as easy as playing the game on my own. So let's try that again because that was a complete swing and a miss. Here we go. Yes. All right. So I landed in a non-dark area in the outer ring. So I lose 2 hit points, which is 3. Thank God I didn't trigger his slash because that would have killed me instantly. I did take 2 damage, so we're going to write that down like that. But he did die, so I'm going to write 1 check there. Now, I am going to say I'm a little bit scared of this snake over here because we're down to 3 hit points. And I've got Toxic. And I have no remedy. There is a remedy up here in the top corner that I'm hoping to get to at some point. The good news on this map is there is no other status in this map. So there's no way for me to take damage from Toxic here, but it's going to carry over if I don't get rid of it, and that's pretty nasty. All right, then. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what? It's not great, but why not? All right, so we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 to get this coin. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 movement. Good. So I got a coin. I'm at 38. Then we're going to go 1, turning 2, 3, 4. I don't fight because I didn't stop within those spaces right around there. That's my 5th movement. Then we go over 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. Now we are going to pick up a coin, 39. And I do fight this Atvask right here because I am adjacent to it. So we'll start there. Oh, so close. All right, that's a -1 hit point, so I do take 1 more damage, but I do kill that Atvask. And I'd like to take that heart, so I'm going to go down 1, 2. And then we can, we can go back this way. Ah, that's not a bad idea, because then I could pick up this EOG, Expanded Gravel. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, stopping here. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, movement. Did I count wrong? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, movement. I did just pick up another heart, so we're back to 3 hit points, which is still not great, but we're not in serious damage. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. I am to the left of the Torque, so his ability is not going to hurt me. I did get that Expanded Gravel, which might come in handy later. And now we're going to fight the Torque. Let's see how we do. Ooh, that's great. So I'm in the outer dark area, which means it should be 1 damage, but because of my weapon, I get 0 damage, and the charge doesn't trigger because we're on the left side. So we killed him without taking any damage. Now, let's go pick up that key. 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. And I think I'm at 8 now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. And we've got that key. Problem is, I'm jinxed. And there's only a single remedy. So if I get rid of Jinx, if I got this remedy and I got rid of Jinx, that means that I will lose 3 hit points and instantly die. Clearly, I don't want that to happen. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. I do want this heart. All right, so we're going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4 goes there to give me a coin is 40. And that's another step. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good. Then, I'm going to go down here first because I can easily go back up and get him. So that's my 10th move. I am fighting this Atvask. And actually, Toxic isn't going to hurt me right now because I already have Toxic. So I wouldn't mind hitting that spot or that spot. So we're going to start there. And we're going to go like that. And either way, I can't really tell if that's center or Toxic. But in either case, it doesn't hurt me this time. So the Atvask is dead. We're going to go up 1, 2, and over 3 and hit the next Atvask like that. So I'm going to just move this down here. That's 11 steps. Fighting again. Let's see what happens this time. Oof. That's a, yeah, I'm going to take the hit. That's sort of right on the border of the two, but there we go. I take the hit like that. That one is dead, so we're at 5 now. Is that true? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is true. I don't want to forget this alien, though. Or this Spaver over here. Because I do want to kill everything. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, out. I don't want to do that because I do want to pick up this heart and I do want to pick up this. So let's 1, 2, 3, 4 to get here. And I've lost count of movement again. I think that's 12, but let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It is good. We move again. 1, 2, 3, and up is 4. Oh, this is going to work out perfectly. Okay, so I get 1 heart for that. That's 3. We move over 1, 2, 3, 4 through that chest. Now, we would be aiming from here. I'll show you how it works. Down here. And for that right now, I would have gotten 8 coins because 10 minus 1 ring is 2. So that would be 8 coins. But because I'm jinxed, I only pick up 1 coin, which is kind of sad. But it is what it is. And I did it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That is 14. That's what I thought. Then down. 1, 2, 3. I can't hit there, so 3 stops there. For my 15th move, we are fighting the Spaver. So wish me luck. Again, we do have 3 this time, so I really don't want slash. So I'm going to pray. All right, I took 1 damage, but that's better than dying. So that's that. I get the 6, so I will unlock that first star. Now, I don't really care about that coin. And if I go 1, 2, 3, I can turn to go 4 there is my 16th step, which is perfect because now I'm lined up to go up into the top half of the map. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that gets me this coin, 42. 1, 2, 3, turning 4 gets me the remedy and that heart for 3 and a remedy. And I'm going to instantly use that remedy to get rid of Toxic so that I can hopefully get rid of Jinx later. And I did it again with movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 if I count correctly. Then I do want to fight this Spaver. So 1, 2 down there for my 19th move. And I'm going to fight him. Again, I'm worried about this 3 killing me. And look at that. I am instantly dead. I just hit the slash, which doesn't do damage because I have the Inner Dark Bow, but because I only have 3 hit points, I am killed. So when you die in this game, it's actually not a huge deal. You're going to reset instantly. So I am going to get all my hit points back at 13. And I am going to lose my statuses. So I don't have Jinx anymore. But now I have a choice. I can either get rid of all of my items or I can lose half of my gold. And generally, I'm okay getting rid of items and weapons because I know that I can go to a store soonish, and if I have money, I can always get something at that store. So there's always the hope that I can get something even better, and I can only ever have 1 weapon anyway. So I'm going to get rid of that bow and that Expanded Gravel, which unfortunately means you don't get to see what the Expanded Gravel does. But I am safe. So I'm not jinxed anymore. I'm back to full strength. But that means that the enemy is still alive. So I do have to re-battle that enemy. So we're going to try one more time. Now I'm not worried about the slash, so I wouldn't mind hitting that. But I do take 1 damage from that. And we go again. And this time I hit the same thing, slash, which is great now because it doesn't do any damage to me. Because of my bow, I lied because now I don't have that bow. So all of those hearts do go away. And I do take 1 damage. So I will take a damage. I will go down to 12. But that Spaver is dead, which puts me now at 7 enemies. And I might as well pick up that heart. So 1, 2, 3, 4 puts me there. 20 movement. I'm back to full health at 13. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Either direction is going to put me back there. But that doesn't count as movement because I'm landing at the same space I already was before. So let's just double check on movement while I'm here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Good. All right, so we are here. I'm going to move one space this way for my 21st movement to fight this Torque. Again, we're on the left side, so I don't care about its special ability. But I do care now because I will still take damage because I don't have that bow anymore. Oof, that hurts. I get 2 damage, and I do take the ability, but again, I'm on the left side, so nothing happens. He's gone. There's my 8th enemy, so I get that 2nd star. But I did just take 2 damage, 1, 2. So I'm going to lose that star, as I currently have more than 8 damage. Then I want that heart, so I'm going down, down, over, over for my 4 move, getting a coin and a heart, which puts me at 43 and 12. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 up like that. Hold on, this was 20, 21, 22, 23 I'm at now, which gets me this coin stack. So we're going to measure or take a skill check from this point down here. Wow, that was bad. 5, 4, 3, 2 coins gets me 45. All right, so we're at 23 movement, and we can have 28 to get all 3 stars. So we've got 5 more things that we can move. And we can just keep moving back and forth as long as I don't mind missing out on this heart. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to move this way. For my 24th movement, picking up that coin to get to 46. Then right back to where we started. That doesn't add any movement. So we still have 4 movement. 1, 2, fight. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I can just do everything. All right, so we're going to go 1, 2 here for my 25th movement, fighting our last enemy, the Spaver. Slash doesn't bother me, but I don't want to lose 2 hit points because I'm at 9 damage right now. If I hit 10, I'm still safe, but if I hit 11, I'm going to lose that 2nd star. So let's do our best not to hit the outer ring. Look at that. I did a perfect, no damage. That's awesome. So 9th enemy is dead. We get our 3rd enemy star. And because there's nothing else that can hurt me left, I definitely get those 2 stars. Now we go 1, 2, 3, 4 for 26. And then back, 1, 2, 3, 4, no movement. So all I have to do is pass through that center, 1, 2, 3, 4. Passing through that triggers the end with 27, so I get all 3 of those stars. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the next page is going to be a boss battle. So if you don't want the bosses spoiled, because all of them are unique and different, please go ahead and click on the timestamp down below that either goes to the town phase or goes to my final thoughts on the game. With that said, let's turn the page and check out the boss. So it looks like our boss in the forest or the woodlands is Raku, the 1,000-year wyvern. All right, so you can see for this boss, there is no map. The previous boss I did play had a map, and they were sort of chasing me around on the map and attacking me and so on. But for this boss, we're fighting this giant wyvern, so there's no map for me to fight on. And there's sort of 2 combat areas. And looking through the combat rules, it looks like I'm starting here at the bottom. And I'm going to aim from here, trying to hit this circle in the center of the wyvern, but hitting anywhere on his body will do damage. If I hit the circle, I'm going to do 2 damage, and I'm going to move to this sort of second game up top. But if I miss that circle and hit him, I will still do 1 damage to the wyvern, but I'm also going to take 2 damage myself. And if I miss completely, then I'm still going to take that 2 damage, and I don't hit him at all. But in either case, if I don't hit the circle, I don't move to the second minigame up here. We're just going to keep repeating down here. Now, if I do hit that circle, doing 2 damage to Raku, then I move up here. And what's going to happen is for each of these 3 fireballs, I'm going to aim from myself to that fireball. And if I hit the fireball, I'm then going to aim from that fireball to Raku. If I hit Raku, I do another 3 damage and come back down here. If I miss Raku, then nothing happens, and I'm just going to aim to the next fireball. But if I don't hit a fireball, if I miss the fireball, I'm going to take 1 damage myself, and I'm going to activate Raku's ability, which is Melt. And Melt says I'm going to take 1 damage for each gold that I own. And then I could choose to, sorry, that's a maximum of 3. So let me say that again. If I miss the fireball, I'm going to take a damage, and then I'm going to take an additional damage for each gold I own up to 3, which I have way more than 3. Or I can spend gold and reduce that extra damage by 1 for each 1 gold. So I could, instead of taking 3 damage, lose 3 gold, which is not horrible, but I'd rather not take that damage. But again, if I miss Raku from the fireball or I miss the fireball, I'm going to continue aiming to the next fireball. But if I hit a fireball and then hit Raku, we're coming back down here. And we're going to keep repeating those 2 steps until I've killed the boss by removing all of its health. And then it says here, when I do defeat the beast, I will get max HP up by 3. I'll explain what that means when I get there. But I did forget, before we do that, I need to transfer everything over from the previous page. So we're at max 13 with 12 hit points remaining. So that's 13 and 12 there. I've got 46 gold, which may end up being sort of a shield for me as I fight against a fire melting my gold. I have no statuses left, I have no items left, and I have no weapons left. All right, so let's go ahead and fight this boss. So we're going to start down here, and I'm hoping to hit that circle in his chest over there, looking away. Oh, so close. I didn't, which means he's going to do 2 damage to me, and I do 1 damage to it. So 1 heart is gone, but I am down to 10 health. And we go again. Again, super close, but not quite. 8 and 1 damage. This is going to be painful. 6 and 1 damage. I may die a few times, losing some gold along the way. Let's see if we can do it. Come on. That's barely a catch of his wing. Again, 4 and 1 damage. I am doing very poorly. Let's try this again. Up and over. Still nothing. 2 and 1 damage. Let's try one more time. I did it. Okay, great. So we do 2 damage to the wyvern. I don't take any damage myself. We start here. I'm aiming for the first fireball, and I get it. And now we're aiming for him again. And look at that. I get it. So that's 3 damage. 1, 2, 3. We might pull this off yet. All right, I got to hit 5 times more. If I can hit the center, hit a fireball, and hit him without taking any damage, I am going to win without dying. Otherwise, ouch. But let's see what happens. All right, we start here again, aiming for the circle, and I promise you I'm not cheating. Nope. Okay, so I'm dead again. He takes 1 damage, although I'm going to go by the normal combat rules, and we'll say that when I die, I don't deal the damage. So we're going back up to 13. I don't have any items or weapons to get rid of, so my gold is going to get halved down to 23, which is going to hurt because it means in the next town phase, I'm not going to be able to buy a new weapon probably because it's probably too expensive, but let's go back to the fight. Oh, so close. Not quite. 11. 1 damage to him. This is tricky. All right. We're going to kill it, but we're going to end up really painful at the end. All right, here we go again. I missed. That means I take 2 damage and he doesn't go down. This is not good. All right, here we go again. I'm going to call that a circle. We're giving 2 damage to him. Aiming from here to the first fireball. We got it. Okay, aiming from the fireball to him. That's a hit. He's dead. We win. Now, I say we win, but we did die in the middle of the battle, and he did beat us up pretty badly even after we came back again. But that's cool. We're going to get 3 hit points added to our max. So this is going to go to 16, and that also means that this goes back up to 10, which is great. Then we're going to move on to, as I mentioned, the town. Now at the town there are a couple of different things we can do. The first one is training, but let's, before we do that, write over what we've got. I've got 16 max hit points with 10 currently, and I've only got 23 gold because the dragon beat me up. All right, then the first thing I can do is I can train. And I can do this as many times as I want to, but I'm going to aim from myself to any of these targets that I choose to. And I got to pay for each attempt. So this target's going to cost 2 gold, this target's going to cost 5, and this one's going to cost 7. And if I successfully do it, then I'm going to gain 1 max HP. If I don't, too bad, I've lost the money, and that's that. And we can keep trying if we want to keep spending money. The inn is very simply just going to cost 1 gold for 1 hit point, healing up as much as I want to. Physician, same thing. I could pay 1 gold to remove a status, but because I've died so many times in this playthrough, I don't have any of those. I can buy some items. Remedy, curing a status, which I've showed you before, costs 2 gold. A cure-all, which would cure all of the status that I have, is 5 gold. And the liquid armor, which is going to prevent any damage from the next attack after I use that potion, is going to cost 5 gold as well. Then we can buy some weapons. Right now, the 3 weapons I have available to me are the Outer Darkness Sword, which is similar to the bow that I just had, except you're going to put hearts in the darkness spots on the outer ring, reducing those by 1, so they would be 1 damage instead of 2 damage. The Curing Staff, which the second time you're going to get the same status, usually that would do nothing, but in this case, if you had the Curing Staff, it would remove that status instead, which is kind of cool. And the Centering Rod, this is the first time I've seen the Centering Rod. It says if you hit the center of an enemy target, cross off their ability. They can no longer activate it in this area, which is cool. So if you had a really good successful attack against an enemy early in the stage, that means that enemy is sort of hobbled for the rest of the battle. I'm not going to do that. I will take the Outer Darkness Sword because I do want a weapon back for 2 reasons. One, because it's nice to have it, because it will help me. But also it means if I do die in a later game, I can lose that sword rather than losing all of my money, which you can see right now is hurting me because I did die the second time. So 23 minus 15 is going to leave me with 8 gold. I'd love to aim for one of these targets, but realistically I think healing up and getting a remedy might be my best option. Yes, so I'm going to buy a remedy for 2. Which puts me at 6, and then I'm going to use all 6 to heal back up to 16 health. And you'll see, I'm going to turn to the next page just so you can see, we're moving on to the forest. Now, before we move on to the forest, I do want to go back because at the start of the previous area, the wilderness, you're going to see here at the top of the page, it shows these stars. So when we finish a region, we want to go back in and count all of the stars that we unlock. So I'm going to show you right now. I'll just do that quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Hold on a minute. You're supposed to do it by type. So we've got 3 steps, 2 hearts, 3 enemies. So 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a 4 and a 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6, 4, 6. So that makes a 7. That makes a 7. And that makes an 8. Right? 6 and 1 is 7. 4 and 3 is 7. And 6 and 2 is 8. So 8, 7, 7. That was a town. All right, so this is 3, 3, 3. So we've got 10, 10, 11. So now 10 and 2 is 12, 10 and 3 is 13, and 11 and 3 is 14. And again, we've got 12 and 2 is 14, 13 and 2 is 15, and 14 and 3 is 17. All right, then 14 and 3 is 17, 15 and 3 is 18, and 17 and 3 is 20. I believe that's it. Yes, so we finished with a 20 enemies and 18 damage points and 17 step points. And that is the end of the wilderness. Now, we are moving into the forest. I do want to show you that each of the areas, and I'm not going to read through everything right now because I'm not going to play another map, but I do want you to see that the different areas have some different sort of spaces that do different things that don't exist in the other areas. So that does add some variability. But also, you'll see here the regional rules for the forest are the free movement that I was talking about. So it's my understanding that each area is going to move back and forth between the free movement and the puzzle style movement. The puzzle style movement in this case being I had to move 4 spaces in a line every time. I believe one of the future puzzle areas makes you continue to move in a straight line until you hit either an enemy or a terrain. But the free movement just allows you to choose anywhere between 1 to 4 spaces to move. So it's not about how you move around the board. It's about using as few movement steps as possible so that you do get those step stars at the end. So I'm going to stop there. I usually talk about components at the end, but the components are the book, and you've seen everything there is to see. Again, this is a prototype, so there might be some small tweaks made later on. But with all that said, meet me back up top, and I'll let you know what I think about this game. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. I will say here before I get into my thoughts that I have played 2 of the 7 areas completely through in this book. So there's a lot that I still haven't seen yet. But for a preview of this game, it should be good enough. There are lots of different bosses coming up with lots of different twists. There are plenty of items, plenty of weapons, and plenty of other small mechanisms that I haven't seen yet. So I'm very excited to dig in more to see all of that stuff. But let's talk about the game itself and why I can say that I'm excited to dig into as much as there is in this book. So I didn't know what to expect going into this. The only real thing I knew about was this sort of pencil dexterity system. And honestly, after reading the rules the first time, my brain said, nah, I don't know, this is going to maybe get old pretty quickly. But the truth is, I actually really enjoy this dexterity system. You do have to sort of close your eyes or pay attention not to sort of give a side glance to the book while you're playing. But the idea here is really cool. And the way that the targets are in different places, or the dots above the enemies are in different places, really does add for a little bit of a different challenge every time you're doing one of these skill checks or combat checks. But also the different abilities of the different enemies that you're fighting also throw in sort of a little bit of a twist, because you did see that sometimes I didn't really care about triggering the abilities because either they wouldn't do anything or they weren't really all that bad in relation to the other things that I was trying to avoid, basically the damage that they're causing me. Because again, the damage that they're causing me will be giving me less stars or less points at the end of this campaign. So I do really enjoy this main idea of the skill check or this pencil dexterity element. But also, now that I've played both a standard free movement area and this puzzle-based area, I have to say that both of them are fun because the free movement area, you have to think a little bit more about the efficiency puzzle of not wasting steps to get to the end, because I could constantly be moving 1 step and just walking my way through, but my step points at the end are going to be real low. So there's that fun sort of mechanism in there. But the puzzle piece is even more interesting to me because you really do have to start thinking about how do I get from here to here with movement. Now, I'm not generally planning too far ahead. I do plan 2 or 3 steps ahead and then see how it plays out and then plan another 2 to 3 steps ahead. But it's interesting because sometimes you want to get into a small area that contains an item or a chest or something that you want to activate. And there's only one small doorway that gets into there. So using that 4 space movement, or later on using that movement that you have to keep going until you hit something, really creates this interesting puzzle about how do I get myself through that small space moving in that direction. And then you saw I had that one item. I didn't get a chance to use it because I ended up getting killed and losing it, but I had that ability to drop a sort of terrain block next to myself to set up future moves, because remembering that hitting that terrain will allow me to turn corners, and then I can sort of manipulate my movement a little bit to better get into those areas and better sort of reduce the number of steps I need to get to the end. And I really like that. It's a really interesting puzzle, and it's a really interesting combination of puzzles, that there's this dexterity element that's causing the skill checks in the combat, and there's this movement element that's not only getting the puzzle to get the most stars at the end, but also thinking about when do I get the health and when do I enter combat and when do I get items. Am I afraid of the abilities? Do I have the ability to use an item to get rid of an ability? Do I even care about the ability? Like if I have Jinx and I'm done with treasure chests and coin stacks in that round or in that area, I don't really care because Jinx isn't hurting me in any other way. So it's this sort of weighing of abilities, weighing of the order of things that you're doing, weighing of which risks am I willing to take, which negatives am I willing to accept in order to balance out all of the things that are going on. And to have all of that kind of stuff going on in a book that's just this big that I can slide into a pocket and take with me anywhere I go is really fun. And the difference in the map shapes, the difference in the terrain layouts, the difference in the different items that appear, the different weapons that appear, the different abilities that each enemy has, really does bring quite a bit of variability to the game, and it really does keep it fresh. One of the things I was worried about is that a book this thick, I'm going to get a couple maps in and say, yeah, this is fun, but I've done it already, I'm out. And there is enough changing here that it does really keep it at least fresh enough that you want to try the next map. And then you hit those boss battles, and those boss battles change things up dramatically. I mentioned in the first area, I don't want to go into too many spoilers, but in the first area, I did have a map-based boss battle when the boss was sort of chasing me around the map, which was really, really interesting. And now this second one, hopefully you had a chance to take a look. If you didn't, I understand you don't want to see spoilers, so I'll keep the spoilers to a minimum here. But the second boss battle didn't use the map at all, and it was all based on that dexterity skill check system, which twisted things up even more. And I look forward to the boss battles that come out in future areas that I haven't entered into yet. I did sort of flip through towards the end, and I did notice that the last area is a dungeon, and the dungeon actually has small sort of mini maps that you're going through as if you were playing, you know, like a Dragon Quest style RPG where you're constantly going upstairs and downstairs into these smaller rooms. And I'm excited to see more of what I haven't seen yet. So this little small package really, really does pack quite a bit of gameplay, quite a bit of variability. It plays pretty quickly. It fits in a pocket, so this is the great kind of thing that you can pull out on a lunch break. You can pull out while you're, out camping, on a trip, on a train, wherever you are. This is a nice little time filler that does still bring quite a bit of fun gameplay mechanism thrown in there and some really nice puzzly thought processes as well. I'm excited by what I see here. Now, again, it is a book. You are playing through. There is an end. You will get to the end, eventually finishing it. You could make copies. You could go back in and erase. It's not going to be new to you. You have played through it. But honestly, even if you played this through one time, there's so much content in this book that I still think it's very much worth it. Now, if I was going to change anything, if I was going to update anything, make anything better, the only thing that I might be missing here is I would love to have a little bit of a narrative going through this book. There are a lot of maps, and yes, there is a lot of variability as I mentioned, but ultimately it is still the same core gameplay. So if you do sit down and play a bunch in a row, it might start to get a little bit stale. If you put it away and come back later, I don't think that staleness is going to happen because I said there is variability. It is a fun puzzle. But even if there was like a paragraph of text on each page or every other page that sort of told a story or explained who these enemies were or why you were in these areas or what this progression is that's happening, it would make things even better. Now, I'm not saying that the designer should feel the need to do that because this is very much a quick, take-anywhere, puzzle-based kind of game, but it would be really fun to be pulled in with more of the theme and more of the reason behind the gameplay itself. So I myself would love to see a narrative thread through the story, through the dungeon crawl itself. But even without it, this is a great, again, very portable, very fun little puzzle that I will definitely play all the way through, and I look forward to seeing the different twists and turns coming up. If this does seem like something you'd be interested in, make sure to click the link to the Kickstarter down below to either go over there and follow the page or check out the campaign itself when it's live. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.